Internet. The GM got lost deep in the sauce, going through Reddit AMAs and bullying game designers and telling them their game was bad and they should be fired and their life is bad. So we gave him all a stern talking to and sessions canceled till he could get his shit together.
It was me, by the way. I gave the stern talking to, and that stern talking to violence.
Yeah, Isaiah beat his ass. Actually, he's not in a good spot.
Look, I'm tired of people shitting on the person whose fault it ain't. I'm ready to start some vigilante violence right now.
I'm going full Batman.
Yeah, I'm in like absolute Batman.
Absolute Bat. Hey, yo, hey. That's crazy.
You see, he dropped a building on Bane. It was very funny.
I didn't see that, but I saw him killing all of the Nazi guys.
Oh, so good.
And then then the one guy being like, "But I thought you don't kill humans." He's like, "You're not humans, you're roaches." I was like, "Hey, yo." Batman said, "I don't give a fuck."
Yeah.
That has similar energy to the Hammer of Justice is unisex.
You wouldn't hit a woman. Sorry, doll. What is it? Sorry, man face. The Hammer of Justice is unisex.
It's unisex.
It's like, you wouldn't hit a woman, would you, Batman? I'm an equal opportunity crime fighter.
Yeah.
Yo, Batman Baker the Bold Batman really just had that dog in him.
Yeah. Some of the quotes for that show are diabolical. Amazing.
I learned to astral project from Tibetan monks.
Yeah.
How did you do that, Bruce?
Yeah, what? Also, wait, how are you still alive? I just learned to hold my breath from Tibetan monks. You're like, I buried you alive. What?
Yeah.
Huh? Yep. I like that. Here's the thing. That sounds ridiculous, but that kind of was a thing back in the day where, like, you know, white authors would just be like, I don't know, ancient Tibetan Buddhism as like an excuse, and you're like, that's not what? It doesn't mean anything.
And like that's a really old thing for Batman. Just like, I went to Tibet and learned some crazy fucking magic. But
yeah, that's what I mean. Like back in the day, they actually used to do that kind of shit, even though it makes no sense and is just kind of vaguely Oriental racism.
One of my favorite things in Batman Brave and the Bold is when he's fighting Gentleman Ghost. And he's like, "You can't punch a spirit, Batman." And he's like, "Well, it's a good thing I brought these Ed's metal knuckle dusters, isn't it?" What?
A good thing I have exactly what I need for this problem.
Magic ghost punching brass knuckles, and then he pulled out the bat-shaped brass nasties.
I mean, it worked.
I like that he had to keep the logic running, that he's like, no, I have to literally punch the ghost.
Yeah. There wasn't like an alternative to that plan.
No, it wasn't. No, not like an nth metal katana or like batarangs. It specifically had to be brass knuckles.
Yeah, I'm gonna beat the dog shit out of this ghost. So you know that's a thing. Anyway, we're back in black, don't you know? Yeah, we have something that I'm very excited to talk about. I got my Jimmy's rustled, my Willies moistened. No, that's not.
That's not.
Nope. Just gonna ignore that I said that one.
Yeah, no, it's too late. It's too late. It's on the air. It's on the air forever.
It's on the air. It is. It's true. But however the kids say excited, my Rizzler is doing tricks on it. I don't know. I don't know what they say these days. my Skibbity is toileting freshly. I don't.
Apparently, the studio that agreed to make that movie like stole all the rights from the series creator. I don't know how they did that, but they did.
For Skibbity Toilet?
Yeah.
That's crazy. What?
Yeah, I don't know how they pulled that off, but apparently, like, he's been completely shut out of the project, and it's his IP.
That's fucked up, dude.
Although they may have exploded the legal loophole that he's using Gmod assets, so it's not entirely his IP, but
probably, yeah. That's a good guess. Anyway, we are talking about a thing I'm very excited about, which is to say, Apocalypse World 3rd edition is on the way, baby. The Kickstarter is up and funded in like
18 minutes.
I don't know, 3. Was it 18 minutes? Wait, what?
Yep, I'm on the Kickstarter right now. It's 18 minutes.
Oh, you're right. It funded in 18 minutes. Which, now, granted, is not that crazy because they only asked for 18,000, which is like not a lot. But they're currently sitting at 161,000, so they've busted every stretch goal and are a little bit over what they asked for. With 23 days to go on the Kickstarter.
Oh my god.
So, yeah. Apparently, Apocalypse World first edition, or was it first or second? I think I saw somewhere that Vincent Baker said, I think it was first edition, busted 150,000. That was that was the highest.
Oh wow!
So they've already busted past that. So that's good. And quite frankly, I can't say I'm particularly surprised because, you know, fucking the boys are back in town with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking, so it's happening. We have, obviously the game's not out yet as of recording, but we have quite a lot of preview information in the Kickstarter to look over. Honestly, more than I was expecting. So that's what we're doing. Before we do, though, as always, if you would like to hit follow or subscribe on your platform of choice, that'd be real nice, please and thank you. And if you're feeling especially generous and you'd like to leave a little donation, the link is in the description. Now, so I have a light. Well, I guess I'm going to explain kind of what this is, just in case some people might be a little confused, because I have mentioned, and I don't know if you remember this or not, Isaiah, I've mentioned playing this version of Apocalypse World before. And some people may have heard of Apocalypse World Burned Over already as a thing. And so they might be like, why is there a Kickstarter for a thing that already exists? So just to explain the whole thing, I mean, I don't know if you remember, but the campaign that I was a player in, like however many years ago at this point, I don't know, like 4 years ago, I want to say, that was Apocalypse World Burned Over.
And that's the one where they removed the sex moves, right?
Yeah, so essentially, this is the whole conversation here. So Apocalypse World Burned Over originally was a zine that Vincent Baker, the creator, put out himself, and for those who don't know, a zine is like it's kind of an outdated phrase, but that's what he calls it. But basically it's a hack book for regular Apocalypse World. So he put out this like little mini supplement hack book thing called Burned Over, and the point of Burned Over was to basically make Apocalypse World a little bit more PG-13, because the base game is very much R-rated. It uses harsh language. It's written in a very crass way. It's very like, it's almost a little combative with the reader.
A little bit, yeah.
On purpose. Yeah. And so Burned Over was like a PG-13 version of the game. And the reason, if I remember correctly, and I forget where I saw this, it might have actually been in the Reddit AMA that we're going to talk about. But the reason that he made Burned Over was to play Apocalypse World with his kids when they were younger and not have to worry about, you know, sex moves and things, and moves like not to be fucked with, and, you know, characters like the Skinner having very questionable, like, sexual seduction type moves and stuff, like, you know, shit like that. So to play with their kids, they made this version Burned Over, and then they're like, well, some people might like the idea of a PG-13 kind of styled Apocalypse World, so they put it out as a hack book. So the original Burned Over does not work on its own. It is not a standalone game. It is a hack of Apocalypse World 2nd Edition. So, like, you need the base game to play Burned Over. All these years later, apparently, more or less, Vincent Baker and his wife Meg something, and so yeah, basically after making the initial Burned Over hack book, Vincent Baker and his wife, whose name I can never remember how to say because I don't know that I've heard it out loud. It's Meguey, Megawi. Meg? I don't know how you're supposed to say it, but Meg. They both continued to work on Burned Over, is long story short on that one. So basically they kept working on it, and at some point they were like, well, we've done so much work on that this has basically become its own game. Let's just make it 3rd edition of Apocalypse World. So now Apocalypse World Burned Over, the Kickstarter, is for Apocalypse World 3. Like, it is the 3rd edition of the game. So for the sake of confusion, for the sake of clarifying confusion, I should say, if I say Burned Over, I'm referring to the old one. If I say 3rd edition, I'm referring to the current one. Because unfortunately, he did the annoying thing where he gave them both the same name, which I hate, by the way. Why? But here we are.
Obviously we're getting early playtest content.
Yes.
But I do kind of hope that they don't throw the sex moves away.
They're gone.
Has he said that they're just gone for good?
They are gone. There is a reason. He talked about it a little in the AMA, but they are 100% gone. So we'll get there. But yes, they are. They are. That is one thing that is definitely not coming back.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on that one. So we're gonna start. We're going to start with, there's a page on the Kickstarter that goes over the changes real broadly. So we're just going to go over those real quick. And then we'll look at the preview material stuff. And then we'll get through however many I saved. Vincent Baker did a Reddit AMA in the PBTA subreddit shortly after the Kickstarter went live. So I perused through looking for interesting responses, and we'll see how many we do or don't get to, but yeah. Well, here, I will tell you the reason I know for a fact that they're not coming back is because I basically asked, is this version of the game also going to be a bit more PG-13? And the answer was yes, for sure. And the reason he said, so what I said was, I played a version of the game called Burned Over back in like 2020 or whatever, 2021. It was a version of the game where the GM wanted to run because it was a bit more PG-13. Is this project a continuation of that, or is this a full 3rd edition of the original game? I asked because the shared name had me a little confused, and his reply was both. As we developed that version of the game, it overtook and merged with our ideas for a 3rd edition. Now they're the same thing. So the Kickstarter is a full standalone 3rd edition. I said, okay, I see. Does the PG-13 writing style carry through? I'm a fan of the harsher tone of Apocalypse World. And he said, thanks for saying, it's really divisive. 3rd edition doesn't swear as much, but it has a different hard edge. It's angrier and more bitter in its humor. It still has a lot of character. You might like it, you might not. That was his response to my question on the AMA. Mm-hmm. So, yes, it's sticking with the PG-13 tone, and apparently the R-rated tone that it previously had was divisive, which I thought was interesting. I did not know that. I'm not terribly surprised, I suppose. But
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, transgressive, I think is a good word, but, like, I don't know. I kind of like that it had that, like, unabashed edge to it. And, like, is it kind of a product of its time? Yeah, but, like, that's not always a bad thing.
I like the unabashed edge, especially because I feel like tabletop games in general avoid that quite a lot. Like, I feel like tabletop games are often, like, the rule books themselves are often written pretty dry and neutral in their tone on purpose most of the time. And the unabashed, somewhat harsh way that Apocalypse World is written, I felt like made it more fun to just read as a book, like regardless of the game itself, just made it more fun to read as a book because it felt like different, a little interesting, and it had a different voice to it. So yes, I agree that I am a little sad that that's going away, but based on how he responded to me on the AMA, he's basically saying that it's still going to have a very particular voice to it. It's just going to be a different kind of voice. So it might still be interesting, you know? We'll see. But yes, I agree. I feel like the R-rated vibe is a little untapped to a certain degree. Shadow of the Demon Lord is another game that does a very similar thing where it's written very like R-rated and nasty, and it makes it kind of a little more interesting. You know, there's been books like there's the Book of Vile Darkness, obviously for 3rd edition D&D, but I feel like that went a little maybe too hog on that particular.
Yeah,
like,
I mean that's like a thinly veiled fetish book in D&D.
Yeah, the Book of Vile Darkness is weird, and then obviously there's the infamous RPG game Fatal, but like that game is obviously not what I want. That is
what the fuck is that? I've never heard of that before.
Oh, you've never heard of Fatal? Oh,
no.
Buddy. You should look up a little after we're done here, but basically Fatal is kind of like if Garth Ennis wrote a role-playing game.
Oh Jesus! All right, I'm already fucking.
It's
and like that you've
game.
Lost me.
It is a game where cock size is a thing, and there are rape rules, and also rules for the circumference of your asshole. And that's not a joke. It's also just a really bad game. Yeah.
You what, mate?
Yeah.
Brother.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't heard. It's very infamous.
To be clear, I'm not laughing about that middle one, but the third one really had me.
Yeah, the circumference of the asshole.
That one sent me. The middle one, the assault stuff, that's not funny. But the circumference of your asshole is fucking hilarious.
I think the circumference rules exist for that middle one, if I remember correctly.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck me.
I don't know. I might be wrong on that particular tidbit. I haven't read Fatal personally, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it online, and I've heard the rumor, the tells, the stories. It's also just a really bad game. Like it's also really mechanically just a shit tabletop game. So on top of being the raunchiest, nastiest shit you ever seen in your life, it's just bad. So anytime people are like, what's the worst RPG you've ever seen in your life? Inevitably, someone will bring up Fatal.
You
looking at the cover?
Yeah, two white people in distress butchering a bunch of colored people with suspiciously curly hair. Not really a vibe. Wow. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Brother, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm again shocked you haven't heard of this game.
I have not. Oh, yeah. There's a rule for racial slurs. Oh my god. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What the?
Yeah.
What the
fuck? Yeah. Anyway, long story short, I'm not asking for that, obviously. So like, yes, there are some RPGs out there that take it way too far. I don't think Apocalypse World 2nd edition took it too far, was kind of the point I was getting at. But, you know,
it just keeps getting worse.
Don't keep looking. It's it's bad. But anyway, so yes, basically the sex moves are out because the game is going to retain that PG-13 tone. That's kind of the long and short of that particular bit. All right, so let's look at it just real quickly. What's like the broad overview on the playbook changes? What changed from 2nd edition to 3rd edition? And this is the overview on the Kickstarter. So some of the playbooks have new names. I would say quite a lot of them have new names. Most of them got a new name, I think. Aggro is a new stat. Hot is gone as a stat.
It is. I noticed that.
Yes. Seduce and manipulate is also gone.
Mm-hmm.
demanding something, tackle a challenge, reason with someone, and attack someone are in the new basic moves. Go aggro, sucker someone, and seduce and manipulate are gone. Backing someone's play and interrupting someone are in as new basic moves. Helping or interfering was out, or is out. Marking each stat for XP is in, highlighting stats is out. I'm a little sad about that one, I won't lie. I really liked the highlighting system. I think it made a lot of sense as a fun way to nudge your fellow players in certain directions to kind of give them a carrot. I like that. I don't necessarily know why that's gone, but you know. PSI is a new rating. It's not quite a stat, but it's sort of like a stat.
So I thought Psi they brought up in in second edition. Maybe in like a lesser degree, but I'm pretty sure it came up.
So I think there's Psi harm in second edition, but I think that's the only place that it shows up. If I remember correctly. Yes, there is Psi harm, but it wasn't really like a proper fleshed out mechanic, I guess is the best way to put it. Whereas now it's going to be all of the playbooks have a Psi rating. And the reason for that is because certain moves and stuff will interact with your Psi rating. So it's like it's tied to the players more directly now, I guess is a better way to put it. Barter, it now works like a stat. It is essentially your buying power rather than spending barter as a currency. I'm fine with that, I think. Like, I don't know. Rolling it as a stat, I have seen other games do. But also, barter was pretty simplified in the previous rules, so there's a part of me that almost feels like... I don't know. I haven't played with it yet, so I can't say, but I don't know that change was, like... Basically, it's not going to make anything worse, but I don't know if it was necessary either. I don't know if it's going to make anything particularly feel cooler, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So it does sort of
see.
Kind of... I don't know if it limits the uniqueness of characters like the fucking oh god, what are they called again?
I don't know.
The brain picker. On the topic
about the brain picker.
On the topic of like the Psi rating, it might make the character whose whole thing is being weird and magic-y kind of less unique.
Okay, I was just talking about barter, so you just confused me deeply.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I was stuck on that because I was thinking about it.
You were stuck on the Psi thing?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Well, I don't think that's going to be the case because based on the preview of the playbooks, it seems like most people will have a Psi rating of 0 or -1 by default anyway. Most people are not going to get Psi. Only certain playbooks are actually going to, like, it's not like everybody has like a baseline. It's just like it's a rating that you can have that you will get from certain moves. So like if you pull open the playbooks,
mm-hmm.
If you look at the brain pickers moves, the one that's called Embrace the Maelstrom, you get +1 weird. You also get +1 Psi.
Okay.
So like not everyone is gonna have a Psi rating that it like most people are probably gonna have a 0. So it's not gonna. I don't think it's going to eat their lunch in a particular way.
With that in mind, do you think maybe it was just a waste to put it on the character sheet for anyone but them anyway? It just kind of seems like a waste of space on a, honestly, pretty cluttered character sheet.
I would say no. I think it makes sense to put it on the... No, because a couple other... So, like, the Gear Cutter interacts with Psi a bit. The Hocus interacts with Psi. Like, a few of them do. Also, you can always pick up moves from other playbooks.
True.
A lot of every playbook has the ability to take moves from somebody else. So the chance of being like, I want to dip into Psi stuff is always present. Also, it gives the GM, it gives the MC another potential avenue of like attack, quote unquote, for how to kind of like mess with your players, or it's another number to like use in some way. So no, I think it makes sense to have it on there.
Fair enough.
But anyway, yes. So barter, you do not spend. Basically, you don't spend barter like gold anymore. It's not like a basic currency. It's a stat that you roll on. We don't know if there's going to be any other moves. So you choose between scavenge options during character creation, and you can change your choice later, and that is what sets your barter stat essentially. I have not seen any indication within the playbooks of if you're going to be able to manipulate your barter stat in other ways, like bring it up or down, like dock it or anything. But I have a feeling that will be a rule in some capacity in the full game, because I'd be shocked if it wasn't. Every playbook's improvement options have been revised. And so have the ungiven future improvement options, which is to say there's just a little spot to show like these you can also get later. Special moves are out, special moves are actually what everyone calls them sex moves, but they were technically called special moves. So special moves are gone, as we said. First impression is in, look is out. That's just what your character looks like. It's now what's everybody's first impression of your character. That part's whatever. All of the playbooks have 5 or 6 starting moves to choose from. In second edition, a couple of playbooks did not, that's a pretty big change, actually. Quite a few playbooks, maybe not quite a few, but there were a couple of playbooks that only had like 1 or 2 starting moves, and you just got them in the beginning, and that was it. I believe like the Chopper the Chopper only has 2 starting moves, which is Pack Alpha and fucking Thieves, and you start with both of them right from character creation, so you don't get any new Chopper moves. Now everybody has like 5 or 6. Yeah. I think there's the Hard Holder also only started with Leadership and Wealth. That was another one. So yeah, a couple people did not have as many moves as the others. So now everyone has not exactly the same amount, but closer amounts between each other. Which normally I would be like, oh, but that feels like homogenizing. But in this case, I feel like it opens up a lot of cooler potential for quite a few of the playbooks. So
no, I agree with you.
Worth it.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on that one. It feels like, I know in second edition, the other classes the playbooks had stuff to bolster that and still make it feel interesting.
They did, yes.
But the fact that now it just kind of opens up your options, like you said, I like that a lot. I am a little sad that we lost Gunlugger and it's been renamed to Volatile. I don't know. I don't know.
The rename I thought was odd.
I kind of like Gunlugger. It's a really evocative, like...
It's a good name.
Yeah, it's a good one. Battle Babe also gone. I believe that's...
Battle Babe was removed completely. Has no equivalent, because Battle Babe is kind of... is more of that R rating thing, you know?
I feel like we lost an opportunity to just rename it to Warboy.
True. I will say though, don't be too sad, because they are going to rework all of the old playbooks and put those out also.
Oh, let's fucking go. Oh, is that what Hero Queen is?
No, the Hero Queen is the Warriors of the World Ablaze playbooks. Which
okay. Can you give me a quick explanation on what that is? I saw that in the AMA and I didn't know what it was.
It is a set of playbooks to play Sword and Sorcery post-apocalypse.
Oh, that's cool.
So, like, you have the Axe King, a ruler of a stronghold and his warrior garrison. A Bloody Sword is a free warrior. The Errant is an explorer, a treasure seeker. The Hero Queen is the chosen leader of a fierce and independent enclave. The Hunting Kite is a warrior and a killer. The Inheritor is the keeper of ancient knowledge. The Lost Priest is whose faith is broken, but whose powers remain. The Warlock is a sorcerer at the height of their power. So it's like, instead of psychic maelstrom powers, the apocalypse caused everyone to get magic.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like a whole other way to play the game. No, the classic playbooks are getting reworked. They are basically, he's just gonna like go through them, clean them up a little, and spit them back out, more or less. So the angel or the Battle Babe is in there.
Awesome.
Honestly, the only one that got cut completely and didn't get reworked is the Battle Babe. So the other ones all basically got reworked. And renamed. Standard moves are in. Those we'll talk about later. Stat substitution moves are almost entirely out, and stat bonus moves are almost entirely out, which is to say on your moves list in first and second edition, there were some moves that would be like, you're a weird guy, you get +1 weird, and like that was it. Those are gone now basically because everyone's like, those are boring as shit, and it's like, yeah, kind of.
They are boring, I'll give you that, but I like the substitution ones. I like where it's like, your immense strength lets you roll, something with aggro rather than cool, Like
most people do not like the substitution ones.
Oh, see, I like those a lot.
Yeah, so like to give an example of which ones we're talking about. So like the Brainer has one called Unnatural in second edition. The Brainer has Unnatural Lust Transfixion. When you try to seduce someone, roll +weird instead of +hot. And then they have Preternatural At-Will Brain Attunement. You get +1 weird. So like those kinds of moves are gone. He said mostly gone. I haven't actually been able to figure out. I haven't seen any of the substitution ones anywhere. I've seen a couple moves that do look like just sort of stat bump. I haven't seen the substitution ones, but I kind of jumped around a lot, so I might have just missed them.
I did, a very brief skim. So I didn't see any either.
Yeah. But yeah. So the substitutions are out. And then on the back of the playbook, all of the playbook's gear and stuff has been revised, often dramatically. I would say that is quite true. Everyone has totally new gear.
I was hoping this was in your notes. Yes, I wanted to put some attention to this because I like that everyone has like a cool gear list.
Everybody has that. I did put it in my notes. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. Because I was like, oh, there's some of that blades that I like.
Yes, everyone has their own gear list. With like one exception, but it's not that big of a deal for the one exception in this case. So the one exception being the Maestro D technically doesn't have the gear list, but in their gear section it says that you start with like a wicked blade, like a kitchen knife or a razor sharp scissors. So they get a little bit less, but they're also not the character where you'd really care about that anyway. So not the end of the world. And they could potentially get something later, but yes, everyone else got a distinctive gear list. Some playbooks did already have that in second edition. For example, the
Gunlugger
had a special list. The Skinner, if I remember correctly, has their what did they call them? They're like fanciful weapons or something like that. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Their Skinner gear.
Skinner gear, yeah.
Oh, gracious weapons. That's what I was looking at. They had a list of gracious weapons. So like some people did already have that.
Sorry.
What?
I just fucking, I'm playing DS3 with Kate again, and every time the Shrine Handmaiden goes, gracious, I just think of the one Italian animation.
Right down the road.
Yeah, it's that, but it's just gracious. Sorry.
Why are you looking for the sun in the abyss?
Fanculo.
Yeah. And then it says effects. I'm not entirely sure what he means by this, but he said effects, harm, armor, psi, and barter have all been standardized on the back. I don't. Not entirely sure what that, like. I know what he means. There's a section explaining it. I guess he just means standardized, as in like everyone has it explained the same way on their sheet, I guess is what he's saying.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's the effects. If you look at any of the playbooks and scroll down to where it says effects, that little section is what that's talking about.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, so I think he's just saying it's like the same for everybody. It's organized the same way. And then hard zones are in. Hard zones I didn't I was not emceeing when I played the burned over hack, so I didn't really interact with the hard zones. But my understanding, if I'm figuring it out, is that hard zones are like a setting thing where you're essentially you're declaring like these zones exist. And by declaring that, the players have abilities that will interact with hard zones. So for example, the operator has their ports of call, and it says, whenever you need, you know where to go. Choose hard zone locations for up to 5. And then, so you have a couple of like statements. So like the first one says, I know people here who can get me strange things, curious things, new things. And then so you pick one of the hard zones that are in play and you put that on that list. So look, I'm popping open the old burned over book. It's like hard zones, the drowned city. The operator's like, okay, if I go to the drowned city, I know people there that can get me weird shit because that's one of my ports of call. So that's kind of how the hard zones interact between the two sides of the table.
They don't necessarily have to be dangerous areas. They just have to be established areas of play, like notable locations.
They are established zones. Yeah, I mean, they're going to be dangerous. They have the potential to be dangerous in the sense that they can go on the threat map for the MC, but like they are zones, they're areas that have like descriptors tied to them and stuff, and they have little bullet points of like notable locations in them.
I'm not in love with the name hard zone because hard zones, I don't like the name. It evokes like nuclear wasteland or minefield, as opposed to like maybe seedy center of trade. You know, it's not like it. What they mean is Mos Eisley Spaceport. What they're giving is minefield.
Yeah, so like the list of the hard zones in the burned over hack book, it says the bottomless vaults, the drowned city, the fallen city, the frozen world, the overgrown wilds, the poison land, the scorched wastes. Obviously, those are like evocative, open-ended, descriptors. And then, like, if you go down to it, the bottomless waste, for examples, locations in the bottomless waste, the baffles, the chanting colony, the gardens, the long dark, the moon well, the stew, the transfer, the waterlocks. Right? So, like, yeah, they're not quite Mos Eisley Cantina. I mean, well, I guess they could be Mos Eisley Cantina is the idea. But yes, they are not explicitly, like, really bad place. Mm-hmm. So, yes, I agree the name Hard Zones is a little questionable. But again, I did not interact with this mechanic because I was not emceeing, so I don't exactly know how it comes into play, and my character did not have any particular ability that the Hard Zones mattered to me in any way, so. But yes, Hard Zones are now listed on the character sheet, and what it says is, ask the MC which Hard Zones are in play, or else choose with the other players. You can adapt your gear and other options to the hard zones as necessary. So basically, if it wouldn't make sense for you to have a certain kind of equipment in a certain kind of hard zone, it's like, okay, adapt it. Basically, ultimately, it's a setting building mechanic. That's really what it is.
Do we need that on the character sheet, though?
I did find that a little odd that it was on the character sheet, yes.
Like, there are certain things, like again, like we talked about Psy, but hard zones, that literally does nothing definitively if it doesn't come into play.
I think the reason that it is on the character sheet on the back, keep in mind it is, we're looking at a PDF, but it is on the back side of the character sheet. I think the reason it's there is because the back side of the character sheet has steps for you to go through, and the hard zone thing is effectively saying, hey, you player, make sure to check in with your GM what hard zones are in play, like what's the mood, what's the setting, what's the vibe. Like, it's like a reminder, but did it need to be on the character sheet? Maybe not. I could see the argument for cutting it out, for sure. It's not taking up that much space, though, either, so it's not super the end of the world.
It's not, but in comparison to 2.0, this character sheet is very busy. and I kind of liked the simplicity of the earlier character sheet.
It is busier than the second edition character sheet, yes. And it's a lot bit. I mean, they've gotten busier with every character sheet, right? Like the first edition character sheet was the most sparse, I would say. Well, no, I guess it was pretty much. I guess it was about the same.
You say it seemed about the same as 1 to 2, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was about the same.
Look, I know it's rich coming from me, the crunch guy, but I'm like, I can appreciate the
it's the style of game
of a minimalist character sheet.
Yeah, I think it's because Apocalypse World has that tighter, cleaner style, so it feels weird to stuff more stuff on the character sheet, but it's not that much more. It kind of feels like a lot more. It's really not that much more. You know what I mean? It's kind of...
Yeah, I guess.
And it's also, I don't know, the layout is pretty good, so it's not like hard to read. At least I don't find it hard to read.
No, it's not hard to read. It's definitely not hard to read. I would still say, you know, if you're going to use the bog standard D&D stat block or character sheet, I would say this is certainly simpler, but...
Yes, definitely simpler.
I fear we might be drifting away from what made it so good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we'll drift much further, though, so, like, you know, I'm not too worried. All right, so that was kind of the overview that Vincent Baker put on the Kickstarter. So we got a preview of the basic moves. So, as I mentioned, we now have a new stat. We have aggro instead of hot. So with a new stat, we also got 2 new basic moves. These are basically just, they're like threat moves. One of them is a threat move, actually. And the other one is kind of like an athletics check style thing, in a way. The one aggro move is demand something of someone, which is, you know, as the name implies, you demand, like, give me what I want. And, you know, on like a 7 to 10, you know, they'll probably push back. And then the other one is for aggro is tackle a challenge, which is you're trying to do something. I mean, I'll read it. When you tackle a challenge, trying for something that might be beyond you, requiring strength, skill, or great care, quick reflexes, patience, or hard work, roll plus aggro. On a 10 plus, you're able to take it on and ask the MC what you can accomplish, and no one could expect to do it better. So, like, basically, it's I'm trying to do something difficult. Like, I'm gonna go for it, even if it's especially difficult.
This almost seems more broad than just a athletics check. This just seems to be the get something done check.
It is more broad. I athletics check was the closest comparison I could make of it, but yeah, it is more broad than that, yes. The other reason I call it the athletics check is because the aggro stat has a little bit more upfront. I'm putting energy into it.
I almost feel like the tackle a challenge check should be the only completely analogous check type, like or move, sorry, like one where it's based on what you want it to be, roll like a different stat.
Oh,
I feel like that would
kind of like how Defy Danger works in Dungeon World.
Yes, exactly.
That's an interesting idea. I did not consider that. Yeah, I could see that.
So hold on. Yeah, because I'm looking at your notes now for the aggro stat, and I almost feel like we didn't need it.
So that was, I mean, hold on. You know, let me pull up. So somebody asked about that in the Reddit. So here, let me pull up. I'm just gonna pull these up as they become relevant, I guess.
Okay.
So this person said, why separate the stats of hard and aggro? What distinction are you trying to make that was not present in previous? What distinction are you trying to make between the stats that was not present in the previous edition? And then this person actually also said, what is your reasoning for toning down the sexually explicit parts of the game in the new edition, removing the hot stat playbook specials? This is not a complaint, though I did enjoy the transgressive nature of the inclusion in the previous editions. So The response was, the first decision was to do away with seducing or manipulating as a basic move. My least favorite in the game by far, is what Vincent Baker said. I thought that was interesting. I don't know why he hates seduce and manipulate so much, but I thought it was interesting. That decision left the hot stat with nothing to do. Dropping the hot stat left a hole in the stat list. I mean, I could have gone down to 4 stats, but honestly, we never really considered it. I chose aggro because of the triangle it makes with cool and hard. Unlike cool and hard, it is outward, expressive, and showy. Cool and hard are both kind of contained and calculating, more when push comes to shove. Hot was the same way. One of the reasons we're toning down the sexuality is that we've made some this I thought was quite an interesting answer. One of the reasons we're toning down the sexuality is that we've made some games since Apocalypse World that take on sex and romance more directly with a lot more fun detail and nuance. It's hard to take the when you and another character have sex, you get +1 hex with each other as seriously when it's up against Firebrand's stealing time together, the Nightmare Horses take their breath away, and the Wolf King's sons falling in love with someone. Those other 2 games I don't know. Firebrand's is a game that he made that is about mecha pilots, but it's about like the drama between mecha pilots. It's like the drama on the ship is kind of the idea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not so much about the mechs. It's also kind of like a quick play game. It's not like a full campaign kind of game. It's like a play 1 session focused kind of thing. I don't know if it's finished either. I have it. I don't know if it's totally finished, if I remember correctly. So his argument was aggro is in there because of the triangle that it makes with cool and hard, where aggro is more expressive and showy and cool and hard are more contained and calculating. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that or not. I kind of get what he means, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know. The distinction feels a little too blurry to be worth it totally. So, I mean, ultimately having not well, I mean, it was, so I think it was that way in the hack also, but I don't remember, or was it? Actually, hold on. Did it work that way in the hack? It did, yeah. So that was the case in the hack too. I really don't remember if it, I don't remember it coming up or doing anything. Really? Yeah. Yeah, because there was confront someone in the hack version with which was roll plus aggro. And then there was a charm or deceive move, and that was rolling with your cool, which feels awkward, and I think he acknowledges that one. So yeah, I guess it was only really the one move that used the aggro, which is why I don't really remember it much. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was needed or not. But I can definitely see the argument. I can definitely see the argument for I can see the argument for tackle a challenge being not tied to any specific stat and being like you pick. That makes sense. And then in regards to like the comment on the whole like why the sex moves being gone and stuff, I do feel like that's a pretty good answer in terms of like, it wasn't very good. My one complaint there is like, yeah, but then you could have maybe reworked it to make it better. You know?
Yeah, I suppose.
And also you could have toned it. The funny thing about the sex moves thing is like, they're like, well, we want to tone down. I honestly, I expected you to argue more about the sex moves part.
No, I mean, look, I'm frustrated that they're gone and that they're going to be gone forever. And I hope maybe we get like something to put them back in for people who want that kind of play.
A little mini supplement.
Yeah, but my biggest thing that I see as I'm reading this is that I don't want to go as far as say we're losing the plot, but you know, if you were going to remove the hot stat, maybe it was okay just to go down to 4. Like, I think a lot of people really like the Powered by the Apocalypse games for their simplicity. And
yeah, I could see 4. I think 4 could have worked.
And like 4 works. We know it works because it works fine in Monster Hearts, right? Like, granted, Monster Hearts has rules supplementing the use of 4, but yeah,
I honestly, I would have personally said, take hot away and call it like charm or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then instead of them being sex moves, make them like intimate moves, compassion moves, companion moves, something along those lines. Yeah. Because that's how most people, the funny thing is, that's what most people ended up doing anyway, and other PBTA games call them that. Like, Urban Shadows calls them, I think, intimacy moves. Which is like, it says like they don't have to be sexual, right? Intimacy could also just be like hanging out with someone and like talking to each other for a long time or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, interesting choice. Yeah, the idea of like, well, I didn't like how it was, so I took it out because it was feeling kind of like outdated design. I understand, but then I'm like, yeah, but rework it more, think about it more, you know, like do something new with it. I don't know. So yeah. Aggro is in there. It's tied to these 2 moves. I can't say much else without playing with it to really say how it feels, but yeah. Continuing down the basic moves, we still have Act Under Fire, which is pretty much unchanged. It does the same thing. And then we have a new move under Cool called Reason with Someone, which, you know, when you reason with someone, say what they'll do and what you'll do, roll with your cool. And, you know, you try to, like, speak frankly with them, give them an offer, try to be like, you know, try to reason, be like, you don't want to do this, bud, right? That kind of vibe.
Yeah.
My initial thought when I first read that was, why is that tied to cool? But as I thought about it more, I was like, oh, no, I guess that does actually make sense for cool. Because you're being more level-headed than the person you're talking to probably is.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have we have one hard move on the basic moves list, which is just attack someone, which is much more straightforward than it used to be when it was called Seize by Force. So when you attack someone, you roll plus hard, and on a hit, you know, you get to choose a bunch. Basically, you have a list of options on the attack someone move. The one difference is that there's a rider on the attack someone where if the person can defend themselves, you get an extra choice that you can pick from, which is to say you can choose to suffer little harm. This used to basically be 2 separate moves, so they kind of like smashed it into one move. This is not, however, the full combat rules, because there are also battle rules, and I'm pretty sure the battle rules are still going to be in 3rd edition. I don't think they're getting taken out. So the battle rules are for when, like, it's almost kind of like when you roll initiative, you activate the battle moves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's only this one basic attack someone move for your basic moves, but there's almost certainly going to be more. And then we have read a person, read a situation, and using the Psychic Maelstrom. These are basically completely the same as they were before, although they do have a little rider on on each of the questions now, which I thought was kind of interesting. So for like read a person, it says, "Are you telling the truth?" And then in parentheses it says, "How can I tell?" So the player who rolled to read, they ask, let's say they ask the MC, "Are you telling the truth?" Which is to say, is the NPC telling me the truth? And then how can my character tell that this NPC is in fact telling the truth? And they all have that little rider question, and then read a situation is the same one, like who's in control here, parentheses, how can I tell? I like those. just because I would already do that. I would explain that bit, like how you can tell part. I would say that anyway. But I like throwing them on there. It's a good reminder to be like, by the way, GM, like, let them know. How can they tell? And then, yeah, the Psychic Maelstrom is, I think, completely unchanged. I mean, maybe it's reworded a little bit, but other than that, I think it's totally unchanged. Your 2 hex moves, your history moves, are now back someone's play and interrupt someone. They're a similar idea to the way helping and interfering previously worked, but now they basically just have more nuance to them. They have more options. So if you back someone's play, you can give them a +1. You can give them an extra question or an extra option. You can give them extra harm, extra armor, extra psi harm, or another benefit as you agree. And then if you interrupt someone, it's like the MC will choose whether you're in the way first, you're in their way, you're ready for it. So they're a similar concept, but they're much more nuanced now, which is cool because honestly, I think what I'm personally seeing in this version of Apocalypse World is Vincent Baker really accepting that Apocalypse World is a PvP game.
Yeah, I mean,
by adding this extra information, by adding the extra stuff to the back someone's play and interrupt someone, by making them more nuanced, it's like acknowledging that players are going to like fuck with each other or help each other, depending.
Yeah, I mean, on one end, I like that. To an earlier point, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about the riders. I feel like I recognize that we need to have them on some things, but others feel kind of weird given the way the game is played. So like, the idea that a full success at 10+ is particularly difficult to get, right? Up until, like your character's pretty kitted out and then they can do kind of whatever they want in a specific niche. The fact that with something like demand something, right? They have to choose given to your demand or push back hard. I almost feel like on a 10+ they shouldn't be able to choose,
Those are not the riders. That's not what I meant when I said the riders. But when I said the riders, I was talking about the little parentheses questions on read a person and read a situation.
Ah, okay.
That being said, in response to that, basically that for that particular one, it's what it's saying is they either have to give you what you want or they have to escalate the situation, and that's the only way they can resist. And if you're in like a negotiation of some kind and you demand something of a character and you get a 10+, their only option if they want to say no is to escalate, which is probably going to mean like physical violence or close to it. If they do that, then everyone else in the room is going to know like, oh, this guy just jumped this other dude for no reason. Like, and now they're ostracized. Like, I think the idea is that's why it says push back hard, right? That is the idea that physically, because when you demand, like if you think about it in real life, when you demand something of someone, they can always physically resist and say no. So it's leaving that door open of like, they still can, but they have to escalate the situation. And that's going to probably put them in a worse position if they choose to escalate the situation, like most times. So it is still ultimately in your favor by quite a lot. Arguably, I could see a situation where the NPC pushing back on a 10+ puts the situation even more in your favor than it did before. Because, the person pushing back looks like the idiot.
I suppose.
They pull a faux pas, if you will.
Right. Yeah. I suppose.
But anyway, yes. So with the history moves, I just like that. I like that there's more to them because it means there's going to be more when you get into those like social PvP situations where you're arguing with each other or trying to get an NPC on your side versus another player's side. There's just going to be more going on there. They also, with the interrupt someone move being a thing now, being its own move, there's also now highly interruptible moves. And some of the moves you'll see on like the playbooks will say highly interruptible, which is to say like, you know, basically it's something that takes time, so someone could potentially jump in. Which is again fun for the potential PvP nonsense. And now we have the barter moves, which I mentioned before. Drop jingle is your move to buy stuff. Basically, you roll plus your barter stat. And if you get on a 10 plus, you can find a trading partner or people who have the thing you want. On a 7 to 9, it says they consider you to be either rich. So on a 10 plus, they consider you to be both rich and powerful. On a 7 to 9, they choose either rich or powerful, the MC chooses. On a miss, they consider you to be neither rich or powerful. No matter the result, ask the MC how they treat you and what kind of deal or deals they make available to you. So basically, the drop jingle is kind of like you're making a roll to see how big of a dick you have in the room currently in comparison to everyone else. Which again, I'm a little iffy on turning barter into a move that you roll. I go back and forth on if I like that idea or not, at least for Apocalypse World, you know what I mean? I like it in other games.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying on that one. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you have any strong opinion on that.
No, I'm kind of with you where it's like,
it's a maybe.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. Maybe not like in a game that was like super heavy on you know, social and political movement. I could see this being a fun thing, but here I kind of don't. Not that I don't see its place, but I don't know how necessary it is.
Yeah, I mean, the way it worked before was you would spend money, and essentially spending the money gave you different tiers of results. So it was a move without a roll, basically. And I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I liked that a little bit more, but I haven't played with it, so, you know. And then the other barter move is live day to day, which is just at the beginning of the session, roll with your barter. If you get a ton plus, you ask the MC what's free and easy. If you get a 7 to 9, you ask what's easy and what's hard. On the miss, you ask what's hard and what's impossible. Which is to kind of say, how are things looking today, more or less? Which is, I feel like, maybe a little tricky to manage for all 4 players or 3 players potentially doing that. Might be a little much to juggle. I don't know. But also, you probably, I wouldn't necessarily do it at the beginning of every session. It says at the beginning of a session, but I definitely think that if the session stops in the middle of a day, like in the middle of some action, then the subsequent session, I'm not necessarily, I would really do that on more of like when there's a fictional beginning of a day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when there's a break. Because if you're in the middle of something and then the next day rolls around and you're like, all right, roll live day today, it's like, wait, but we started immediately where we left.
It's the same day.
Yeah, we can't. That's weird. After that, there is the second page of the basic moves preview. There's a little page called Making Moves. Basically, it gives some guidance on simultaneous moves and like PvP situations and just how to handle them. So like it mentions, you know, if 2 players want to roll at the same time, it mentions tackling a challenge versus acting under fire and how that should work when you are attacking somebody, PC versus PC battles. Just general advice on that. Something it does mention at the top of this, which I thought was really interesting. So if you look at the very top of the Making Moves page, it says, it's your responsibility as a player to choose and announce the moves you are making by name. No, and I was like, wait a minute, what? I thought we weren't supposed to say the name of the move was always the idea. In the AMA, someone said to Vincent Baker, what is the biggest misconception about the game? And he said, oh, the idea that players aren't supposed to announce their moves. I never intended for that to be a thing.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, what? So the whole idea of like, you're supposed to just say what you're doing, you know. Let me see if I can find it. Biggest misconception. No, from this point I can't make, Wizard Gold. No, what do you think? Oh, what do you think others really get wrong about your game? There's one core point about moves that we're highlighting, a misconception that we really want to correct. In Apocalypse World, as a player, you choose your moves intentionally and announce them by name. You don't just say what your character does and leave it for the GM to choose your moves. Which I was like, wow, that's kind of a big upend of how most people have been doing it for most of the time.
Yeah, that's a little, that feels like a departure, but I guess if that's how, wait, so how did that come about? Where did that idea come from?
Basically, I think what happened was the misunderstanding came from the MC section of the game, because the MC section says to the MC, never speak your moves. And the reason is because on the MC side of things, you don't need to speak your moves. You don't need to explain what you're doing, right? You just make decisions in reaction to the players, and you don't need to roll any dice or anything. You're just making decisions. So you don't need to say what you're doing, but the players need to declare what they're trying to do because they're trying to get, they're trying to beat whatever challenge is in front of them. So they need to be clear on what they're using to beat the challenge. So I think the misconception came from the fact that the MC isn't supposed to speak the moves, so everyone thought that also applied to the players. Apparently it never did. Yeah.
So, to recap, the idea is that the MC should never ask a player what specific move they're trying, but the player should say it back?
No, the idea is that the player says, I'm sticking my gun in Jim's face, and I'm demanding that he give me the money he owes me. I'm using demand something. That's how it's supposed to work. I want to use the move demand something. And then the MC says, okay, roll it. Right? Now, you could obviously, there could be a back and forth. The MC might be like, well, I don't know if you're making that move. Maybe it's more like this move or whatever. But the idea is like the player is supposed to be like, I am doing this thing. This is what I want. And apparently everyone missed that. Myself included, by the way. I also had that misconception. So, yeah. You do, in fact, announce your moves. Which, I don't know, doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but it does recontextualize a lot of like situations when you're running the game. So it's kind of like, huh, wow, that's kind of a interesting change.
Yeah, for sure.
I will keep that in mind for the future. So yeah, the rest of that making the moves section is mostly like it's just a little bit of advice. And then it briefly mentions XP, an improvement. So XP has been changed. So you do not highlight a stat. Instead, every time you roll on a stat, you mark it off. So like, oh, I rolled aggro, and you mark like a check on your aggro. Once you have 4 marks on a stat, you erase those 4 and give yourself 1 XP. So you have to roll on a stat 4 times to then accrue 1 point of XP. There are also now end of session questions that you ask that also award XP. Which I like the end of session questions. I don't like the new rolling stat thing, to be honest. I much prefer highlighting a stat. I've always really liked that mechanic.
So can you re-explain how the new rolling stat thing works? I'm trying to get it in my head.
So like you just have to roll a stat 4 times, and then the 4th roll converts to 1 point of XP.
But it has to be the same stat. Or do you just have to roll 4 times?
No, you have to roll. So during as you're playing, there's little, if you look at the character sheet, if you look at the letter of the playbooks, there's a little XP track next to each stat, and then there's 4 bubbles.
Oh, right.
You have to fill up those 4 bubbles, and then once you do, you erase them, and then that converts into one XP point.
Got it. And the way it used to work was the player with the highest history with you would pick one of your stats to be your highlighted stat, and then the GM would pick a stat to be your highlighted stat. And every time you rolled one of your 2 highlighted stats, you got a point of XP. What I liked about that is it lets one of the players and the GM nudge your character in a direction that they think is interesting, right? So I'm going to highlight your hard because I want to see you pick more fights with people, right? So I'm giving you a carrot to encourage you. I'm not saying you have to do it, but I'm encouraging you heavily. So, yeah, I don't love that that's gone. I feel like stat highlighting was a really cool idea, and I don't know why he took that out. But yeah. Yeah, not sure.
I don't know. That was an odd choice to me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the idea is they maybe wanted to slow down progression a little bit. So actually, I think I wanted to bring this up. I remember writing this somewhere. I don't know if I put it in a note section, but it seems like the game is trying to slow down. And I think I originally wrote this down because I guess I'm wrong on this because the amount of improvements are the exact same. I don't know why I thought there were less in second edition. But maybe the idea is that Mr. Baker here is trying to appeal to a middle ground audience between the 10 to 30 session range where you have enough time to maybe really flesh a character out if that's what you really want, but you don't necessarily need to. They're just giving you that option for games that might go on a little longer.
Are they the same amount of...
They are.
Are they the same amount of improvements?
Yes.
It's really hard to tell.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Make sure
6.
to compare the same playbook.
Yes. Well, sorry, the Skinner doesn't have... let me check the Brainer.
Luminous. The Luminous is the Skinner equivalent.
16. And the new one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10... 17. So they have 1 more now.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, you're not entirely wrong though necessarily either, because in one of the responses to one of the AMA questions, Vincent Baker kind of joked where he was like, well, I've always said that Apocalypse World stops at tier 2 or whatever, or what? How do you phrase it? He was like, I've always said the game stops at level 3 or something like that. And he was like, I feel like 3rd edition is going to let you go up to level 5 or something. I forget exactly how to phrase it, but he basically said like, yeah, this version of the game is going to be able to extend its life a little bit more.
So not only will there be a higher level cap, there will be a higher barrier to level, which means you're going to have to put more sessions in and more play in to reach those levels as well.
Okay. So I found it. I also really like the new advanced moves. Sometimes I'll quip that Apocalypse World is for a game of characters level 1 to 3. The new advanced moves let you play at level 4 before you retire. So you're onto something, maybe? That being said, we haven't seen the new advanced moves, so we don't know what that looks like. But you might be onto something. Or you? It sounds like yes, you're picking up what he's putting down to some capacity. I don't know if it's exactly. I don't know if the way you're thinking about it and the way he's talking about it are necessarily the same, but it sounds like you're picking up on something there.
They seem to be. They must be, or not must be, but they appear to be similar at first glance. Because that's the only reason why I would think about why it would take you that much more to level up, right? 4 rolls.
Yes, leveling is.
It feels unlikely that you will roll cool 4 times in one session. You might. You absolutely might.
Probably not, yeah.
But you probably won't. And just based on what we've done in Dungeon World and how we did it in Monster Hearts, you roll lash out physically maybe once every other session.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you rolled it 2 or 3 times in a session, yeah, that'd be like, that's quite a bit.
Some shit is happening, yeah.
Yeah, shit's going down. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess from that standpoint, maybe you're onto something, like the idea of just trying to slow the progression just a little bit. There is also the end of session moves, though, which weren't there before, so that will then speed it back up. So, like, I don't know. They took away one element that was quick, but then added a different element in that's decently quick. So, like, I don't know exactly where it's going to fit. Also, you do need... you used to need 5 points of XP to improve. Now you need 6. So they did also add another point of XP required. So I don't know where it levels out necessarily, but it does seem like it is slower.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, I guess I'm probably okay with.
Yeah, I mean,
the way he phrased that, the response to where he's like, I often said Apocalypse World is level 1 to 3. The new advanced moves let you play at level 4. He's kind of like, there's more, but there's not that much more, right? Like, it's not like you can go to level 10 now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably fine with that. But that's all speculation. We can't say for sure.
I don't know, because I see you got a couple of questions down here. Did you notice he had a pretty interesting response to niche protection? Did you see that?
Oh, I don't remember. Maybe. Do you have the link to it?
So I don't have the link to it, but I actually copied it down.
Okay.
The question is, I saw a comment that I think you wrote saying you never intended to make it a rule for playbooks to be only used once per character. That instead it was to limit printing by GM. Do you still agree with that sentiment? How do you feel this impacts your/other games? His answer was, back in 2010, Apocalypse World's approach was to balance between the PCs and niche protection. The approach to balance it was out of step with conventional wisdom. People took the rule that there's only one of each playbook to be for niche protection purposes, which meant that they brought some of those ideas into the game, pointing out that no, that rule exists for the benefit of the GM's poor inkjet printer maybe seemed to disarm some of those ideas. These days, I think that conventional wisdom about PC on PC balance and niche protection has moved on, at least to some extent. I've always thought about setting up to play Apocalypse World like let's everyone play hardholders, neighbors, work together, for instance. I don't know that anyone's ever tried it. So he's saying that he's not against the idea that everyone is playing a hardholder or a gunlugger.
Yeah.
But he's not sure that anyone's ever tried that, but he's never been against it. Or maybe he's not against it now. Or no, he said always, so he's never been against it.
Yeah, he's never been against it.
But maybe some strange wording misconstrued as to why he initially said one person per playbook.
Yeah. I mean, that's certainly interesting, if for no other reason than the fact that a lot of people took that assumption about one playbook per character and then extended it out into many other PBTA games and is still a common part of many PBTA games.
Yeah, like fucking Dungeon World. Yeah, one person per race, one person per class. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not race, but class, yes. Or playbook, yes.
Are you sure? I thought it was both.
It was just playbook because your race options are on the playbook.
Oh, right. Yeah. If you're this thing, you can only be this or this. Right.
You can be this or the, yeah. Dungeon World's one example, but I've seen others that basically say more or less the same thing. And yeah, I mean, it is kind of funny that a misunderstanding basically became a common practice. Certainly interesting. I see what he's saying though too. There is definitely potential of everyone's playing this playbook. This might be kind of fun, you know?
No, for sure. I kind of like the idea that like
everyone's the base and we're all everyone has a base and we're all neighbors.
Yeah, like the idea that everybody is a volatile, we're all like, we're literally gun runners. That's kind of our whole thing.
Yep.
And you might be like, oh, well, that limits you heavily. It's like, it does, but that can be fun if you're like, let's say you're doing like a 3 or 4 shot like mini campaign, and the idea is that your armored convoy got knocked off by another gang, and now you have to go into town, and no one is good at bartering. Like,
yeah.
It leads to some interesting situations, to say the least.
Yeah, it is funny that people misunderstood. I don't remember how it was worded all the way back in the first edition of the game, so like I don't remember. I couldn't necessarily take a guess as to why people misunderstood, but evidently people did.
Mm-hmm.
Evidently, there were a lot of misunderstood assumptions that people have made about Apocalypse World that have now continued on for a long time.
That must really bother him. That would bother the shit out of me.
I don't know if it bothers him. That's a good point. I have no idea. Anyway, sort of moving. So the making moves and the XP and improvement we just mentioned. The last page of the like moves handout, the Kickstarter preview, has what are called standard moves. I don't feel like it's worth going into these because they are tied to very specific things that you get on a playbook by playbook basis, and you're not going to care about them unless your playbook interacts with them. So like, for example, there's the standard move Augury, which is a move you get, like, if you're a brain or you're a hocus, you're probably going to get Augury at some point, and it lets you like manipulate the psychic maelstrom. But if you're a volatile, you don't give a shit about Augury. And then there's like the move Behind the Wheel, which only matters if you have a vehicle. And then there's like Devotion, which only matters if you have a group of followers. So they are all bespoke rules for very specific situations that only matter sometimes. That being said, on a very broad level, they seem to work basically the same. When I was looking at them, they seem to all work pretty much the same as second edition, just with a little extra, like a little more wording, a little more clarification, a little more like nuance to them. But other than that, they seem to work the same. So nothing crazy there. Although I don't think they were called standard moves before. I think they had a different name, but yeah. So then the playbooks. We are not going to go over every playbook because there's a lot of them, and it's a lot, and also a lot of them are not. The differences are very minutia, right? Like the Brain Picker, for example, is mostly the same, and then there's little tidbits in the playbook here and there of like, oh, this is worded a little differently, this works with this, or like the fact that the Brain Picker now has the psi stat, so now they have a move that relates to the psi stat, right? Like most of them are like noodles and adjustments. So instead, I'm just going to focus on the interesting bits and the ones that are new, and kind of look at it broad strokes. So we have 2 totally brand new playbooks, the Standout and the Restless. The Restless, did you look at this one?
I did not.
It is so fucking sick. Okay. So the Restless is one of those ideas that I didn't know I wanted until I saw it. It is basically a post-apocalypse ranger with an animal companion that works similar to the Dungeon World animal companion. So you're a guy with a dog, which is, you're Fallout guy. You're a guy with a dog, right? And you get to like make some decisions about your dog and whatnot. And when you make moves, the dog helps you with the different kinds of moves in different various ways. The thing that's really sick though about the Ranger, or about the Restless, is that the genius design comes from Naturalist and Wanderer. Effectively, what these 2 abilities let you do is Naturalist lets you declare creatures that exist in the world. Like, I'm going to declare this monster exists, and then you're going to design it from the creature sheet, which is like a thing that the MC will hand you. That creature now exists, period. And you as the Restless know about it. Your character can interact with it. It's a thing. And then the Wanderer lets you do essentially the same thing, but instead of creatures, lets you declare locations that are called inhospitables. And you know about inhospitable places, and so you declare whenever there's like you do it when the way the game phrases it, when there's a break in play. You're like, I'm going to declare this inhospitable location. I know X, Y, and Z thing about it, and here's what I can get out of it. So basically, you're a ranger, but rather than saying, "Oh, my favorite terrain is X, Y, or Z," you as the player create the monsters and the locations when they become relevant, and then inject them into the game, and now they exist.
Okay, that kind of fucks. I kind of love that.
It's fucking sick, dude. I would have never. I was like, that is kind of genius, actually. Yeah, love it in biggest Abranicus. Yeah, so basically, the Restless Playbook lets you be cool monster hunter guy in post-apocalypse situation, and you get to make the monsters that you fight and know about and are like, this is my cool thing.
See, I would love this, because this is my shit in when we play games. I'm this guy who's like, what if I came up with this? Like, no, I would play this. This is the one I want. Yeah,
it's a good. And if you look at the creating creatures page, it's pretty juicy. It's not like 1 or 2 sentences.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a lot there. So super sick. And then the whole creating your own inhospitable zones. It's like you're creating your own favored terrain. And then of course you also have a move called Monster Fighter, which is that you can fight enemies that are physically larger than you, and when you attack or do battle with a larger enemy, you're not outsized no matter how big they are, which I don't know exactly what mechanical effect outsized is going to necessarily have, but based on that, it's going to matter when you do battle with things. So you get to be Fallout MC plus Geralt, which is like, yeah, it's pretty fire.
No, yeah, I'm in.
And then the other brand new playbook is the Standout. What?
What is the? You don't eat meat, but you suck toes for breakfast. I'm in. Sorry.
Fair enough. The other one is the Standout, and the Standout is. This isn't exactly a new idea in the TTRPG space. In fact, it's a really old idea. I just never thought about it in the context of Apocalypse World, personally. And basically, the Standout is a hireling playbook that a player uses to play someone like a gang member or an NPC friend or like a temporary character. So it's like, oh, Jim and Bob are going on a quest and they're bringing along NPC Timmy, and one of the other player's character isn't going to be there, so the other player plays NPC Timmy instead, and they use the Standout playbook as the way to play them. And again, it's it's like the sidekick rules in D&D is kind of a similar idea. And yeah, I would not have thought of this for Apocalypse World, but now that I've seen it, it definitely started giving me ideas. So, mission accomplished, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Does the thought of that intrigue you at all?
It does, and I think mainly for the you can play more than one character thing. Now this just feels like a more effective and efficient way of doing that.
Right,
where your main guy gets the care that you want to give them, because like no matter what, if you're playing more than one character, it's gonna get a little weird. But
well,
the fact that you could kind of play your homies, kind of love.
Yeah. Well, it can also be that like your character died and you want to transition into a new character, but it's at a weird point. So you're like, I don't know how to do it. It's like, okay, well, if you play a standout for a little while and then either you get rid of the standout later or you decide to upgrade the standout character into a full playbook character, and then that's your new character, right? Like, that's one of the really interesting uses I thought about for it.
I hadn't thought about it like that, actually.
Yeah. I feel like that has a lot of potential. That actually kind of happened in the game that I was playing when I was playing Burned Over, where a character died or disappeared, and so the other player played an NPC and turned them into a full playbook at one point, and then eventually got rid of them later, or like, not got rid of them, but they became like back to an NPC character. So yeah, it very would not have thought about it, but a cool idea. Couple other things I noted with some of the playbooks. Actually, one thing I noted just looking literally just right now, if you look at the improvement box and you look at the improvements below the line, so one is change your playbook, right? That's old. Another one is +1 to any stat. Yeah, okay. Unlock advanced moves, which is a thing that first and second edition had. They had advanced moves. Unlock a game changer. What does that mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. And I don't, that's not true. I'm a filthy liar. I kind of know.
Okay.
In that there were, in the Burned Over hack, there were game changers that basically upended. They like literally changed what was currently going on.
Oh?
Yeah, so like one of them, for example, was you unlocked this thing called the Lost Swords, and it just added mech suits to the setting.
Oh, fuck yes, dude.
And then there's another one called Epilogues, which literally ended the game.
Oh.
It's called Epilogues. End the game, period. Go around and ask everyone what happened to their characters thereafter. Take your time, say goodbye, good luck, and Godspeed.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. So I actually, I said I forgot. I literally forgot that these were a thing until just now. So yeah, he's bringing those over. So that should certainly be interesting.
I mean,
don't know what those are going to look like. Another
what's better
game
than
changer
playing
is
the Vault Hunter? If not, you can get your cool power armor.
True. Another game changer is the Forced Door. The characters open a doorway to another dimension, another world, another timeline, another game, and push through it. You can keep playing these characters and these. Yeah, you can keep playing these characters and these rules in the new world, or else you could switch to different characters and different rules, if that makes more sense.
That is so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Can you imagine porting your characters over to fucking Dungeon Worlds?
Right, yeah. Just playing a whole new system.
It's just fucking isekai characters. Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, so that'll certainly be interesting, I think. And then also, the very last bullet is get with the MC for a custom improvement. I hope there's some guidance in the main book on how to handle that, because, like, I don't know what that's gonna look like. Anyway, some more general playbook stuff. The Harrier got reworked. So the Harrier used to be the Chopper, and the Chopper always kind of felt like the playbook with, I don't know, arguably the least love. Like it felt the most simple, but not in a way that was amazing necessarily. Basically the whole thing with the Chopper was just you had a biker gang. So now the Harrier is, you still have a gang, but there's a little more meat on the bones. There's a little more to it. First of all, you don't have to necessarily be a biker gang. You could have like four-wheelers. You also detail some more, like, not stats per se, but you detail more information about your gang, and like you detail important NPCs in your gang and stuff. So there's just like more meat on the bones for the Harrier. than there originally was for the chopper.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I couldn't think of the word chopper for a second there. That's not a hard word. So I was happy about that. Then we have the other one I noticed was the operator is kind of interesting. So the operator in 3rd edition seems to be kind of a weird amalgamation of the old driver and the old version of the operator, where the operator has these ports of call, which act kind of similar to what the old operator's moonlighting move was. Well, also, on top of all that, the barter mechanics from 2nd edition are removed from 3rd edition, which the reason that's relevant is because basically what happened with the operator was the operator existed in 1st edition, and their whole thing was their main shtick was moonlighting, which is where they could like go around and do jobs for people and get money, right?
Yeah.
In 2nd edition, he gave everyone these barter options on their on the playbooks, and those barter options kind of did what the operator was already doing. So the operator got axed. So now in 3rd edition, the operator is back, but it's reworked and also kind of combined with the driver. And part of the reason that it's back is because the idea that everyone had bartering gigs that they could do are gone because barter got reworked. So I just thought it was interesting that he got rid of it, changed it, came back around to it.
I feel like you always love to see that, where like you're like, oh, it sucks that this thing is gone. You're like, oh, there it is, nice.
Yeah, I mean, I personally wasn't like all beat up about the operator being gone, but I think it's interesting to revisit it. And I think it's interesting that it got combined with the driver, because that does make a lot of sense that the driver would also be the guy who drives around and knows everybody and knows places that have useful stuff, right? Like, that makes sense.
I also feel like, you know, this might be a little bit of like cutting down, right? Because if the Harrier's whole thing is has vehicle, goes around doing shit, kind of weird to have two of those guys feel kind of similar. No.
The Harrier's whole thing is I have a gang with vehicles. The operator is I have a really sick car or vehicle of some kind. Like, the operator is Mad Max. The Harrier is Chris Hemsworth character.
Dementus.
Yeah, Dementus, yes. The Harrier is Dementus. The operator is Mad Max. That's the distinction on that one. That being said, if there was an operator and a driver, yes, then I would say, yeah, you're starting to get into the messy confusion a little bit, because Mad Max is kind of an operator in that sense, right? Like, that does make sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then we talked about this before, or no, actually, this was pre-recording. Pre-recording, we mentioned the playbooks in general have all gotten a little more complex, a little more complicated. There's more stuff going on. I would say, in my opinion, we are bordering on the edge of too complex. Right on the edge. Like, if you go a little bit further, it might be too much. I think we're okay right now. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but yeah.
So I'm taking a little bit more of an extreme take than you are. I think I think we've hit it. We've hit the line.
The line?
Like, anything more than this, and it's because, again, like, I don't feel like and I know it's on the back, and I know it's a checklist, but I didn't feel like effects and hard zones need to be there, kind of at all. Like, I would prefer, and you know, Monster does this, where there is a separate checkoff sheet that you have, right? Like, it's the.
It sounds like you're more
sheet.
Just complaining about sheet density, though.
It's that, but it is a fragment that is indicative of a greater whole. We're getting more complex, and you're seeing it in the most visible way on the character sheets. You know what I mean?
I guess I'm more saying there's a bit more mechanic. There's arguably were on the edge of a little too much mechanically noodliness for some of the playbooks is what I'm saying.
So perfect example is you pointed it out yourself on your notes. Why is there an ammo tracker? That feels kind of weirdly out of place here. And that's a piece of the character sheet, right? Like,
so yeah, I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know what that's going to be. Every playbook now has their own custom weapons, and every playbook has their own custom like gear list, and some of the gear that has the ammo tag has little circles you can fill in, which would imply an ammo count. Now, Apocalypse World in the previous 2 editions just disregarded ammo as a mechanic. It was like, don't worry about it. The only time ammo is relevant is if a player is like, if a player fails a roll, one of the hard moves you could do would be like, oh, you're out of ammo, so you can't use that gun until you like find a place to get ammo or scavenge for ammo or something like that. That's kind of the idea of how ammo is treated. It would be like a situational thing that the GM could use against you if things were going poorly for you. Now there's this ammo counter, but we don't know how it works yet because we don't have the rules. So it might not be a huge deal. If it works like Dungeon World ammo, then I'm not too bothered. But if it's more noodly than that, I'm going to be a little annoyed.
So do you know what was a game that I think handled ammo really well? Wrath and Glory, the 40k system.
I have no idea how that game does it.
Pretty much every time you roll to shoot, you roll a die. Because the idea is that you're not like a perfect shot, right? There's a little bit of spray and pray involved. And every time that you succeeded to maintain ammo, you got a little tick up that made it harder for the next roll. So eventually you were going to run out of ammo no matter what. And if you were really unlucky, the idea is that like the person's, dive and dodge it and you're spraying, trying to get them. And then you get the click, click, click.
I mean, that has an element of similarity to Dungeon World, where basically when you would do the volley move, if you got a 7 to 9, one of the options you could choose was make the shot, but dock your ammo by 1. And then you could go and refill your ammo when you got to a place that you could potentially buy ammo. So yeah, it's kind of a similar idea of like, yeah, keep rolling to see what happens. And then if it goes poorly, you dock the ammo. If it's something like that, then I won't be, like I said, I won't be too bothered. Either Dungeon World or the example you just gave, like, yeah, I'm kind of okay with either of those. I just don't want to track the minutia of shots or something like that. Like, that feels weird. But
yeah, I'm with you there.
We'll see. We don't know. But yes, there is a couple elements on the character sheet that go, maybe we're getting just a smidge too complex. And the only reason I really say that is just because in terms of game style, I don't feel like Apocalypse World is going to benefit from being super, like, more noodly. I don't think is necessarily the goal. There's some elements of the game that I think a little more mechanical depth makes sense, but not everything. It's a delicate tightrope. And then little final notes on the playbooks. So we also have 2 other kinds of playbooks, basically. We have the extended playbooks and the Warriors of the World Ablaze playbooks. So extended playbooks are something that every version of Apocalypse World has had. They are basically, they're playbooks that fit into the game fine, but they're always gonna be weirder than the base playbooks, and they tend to require a little more expertise or know-how on the GM's part to make them run smoothly, and it seems like this is still the case for 3rd edition. To go down the list of what I mean by they're weirder and harder to deal with, the burned over extended playlists are the Bloodhound, which is somebody grappling with the mysteries of reality, the Child Thing, a feral kid not quite human, the Contaminated, a disease vector for apocalyptic horror, No One, haunted by trauma and visions of a forgotten past, the Quarantine, a soldier locked in stasis from before the world ended, which is that the Quarantine's in the preview PDF, the Symbiote, a compound entity and hive mind.
Oh, that's a...
Yeah, you play a symbiote creature. The
That was a little on the nose.
Yeah. The undaunted, a fearless parent of a real or metaphorical child. The vigilant, on guard against the wolves of the maelstrom. The weaponized, a combat cyborg who survived the apocalypse. Or the ex-Earther, descended from refugees who rode out the apocalypse in Earth's orbit. Oh, and then the last one is a forerunner. The apocalypse is happening right now, not 50 years ago.
I like that.
Yeah, so an entire playbook that changes the way that the game is going to be played because it goes from the apocalypse happened to the apocalypse is happening right now just based on that playbook being in play, right? Mm-hmm. So the extended playbooks are a little more to deal with. So if you're not an experienced MC of Apocalypse World, you're probably not going to want to deal with them. They might be a little too much. I will say the weaponized, we actually had a weaponized character in the campaign that I was a player in. Yes, we had a robot man. He was very cool. He was basically a war weapon from the before times. Was like sealed out of his cryo containment tube. So yeah, that's the extended playbooks, and then the Warriors of the World Ablaze are playbooks that are sword and sorcery style playbooks, but in a post-apocalypse. So the idea is like instead of the apocalypse causing the psychic maelstrom, the apocalypse caused everyone to acquire magic powers. I'm very excited to see how these turn out because obviously there's a lot of potential for these. We got a preview of 2 of them, and I don't have much to say yet. Because we only got 2. We got the Harrow Queen and the hunting kite and hunting kite. Hunting kite. Yeah. The Harrow Queen is basically like a weird cult queen leader. They're how does it describe it? The chosen leader of a fierce and independent enclave, and then the hunting kite is a warrior and killer, quick and almost untouchable. So like ninja killer hunter guy and like weird enclave of magic shit wizard lady. The 2 things I did notice that intrigued me is that we don't have a lot from the previews, but in the Harrow Queen it specifically mentions a standard move called sorcery. A standard move, which is similar to like the augury and the wealth and the behind the wheel, right? Those moves. A standard move for sorcery, which is interesting because I'm curious to see how Baker's going to interpret like spell casting mechanics in Apocalypse World, basically. Mm-hmm. And then the hunting kite has a stat ? I don't know if it's a stat per se, but it has like a unique stat thing called malice. And a couple of its move reference this malice stat, and you can like roll plus malice. So
Harrow Queen has malice too, yeah.
Oh, is it in? Okay, I didn't see it in there. So I don't know what that's gonna look like. It sounds like a unique stat for. Sounds like it's gonna be a unique stat for this part of the game. This is gonna be in the main game too. It's gonna be like an optional bit of the game, basically. So, I don't have a ton to say on the Warriors Ablaze, but I'm very intrigued to see where they go. Hopefully it'll be cool.
I like that the hunting kite, you get a bunch of cool shit, like you get a distinctive sword, or a distinctive dagger, or a distinctive hand
special
weapons. And I could very easily remake my boy Samir with the distinctive hand weapon with cool chain blade.
Yeah, the hunting kite has a little bit of the Battle Babes custom weapon thing going on. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see where this little element of the game goes, and I didn't expect it to happen, but here we are. I was kind of jumping around on the AMA question, so I don't necessarily need to say a lot, or we don't need to go through all of them. We jumped around and I mentioned a bunch of them already. Couple ones that I thought were interesting. Somebody asked, what are you most changes from the previous editions, what are you most excited about? And Vincent Baker said the new standout playbook is one that he's really excited about. And he said he really likes the new advanced moves. And that's where he made the comment about 4th level play. So I'm curious to see what the new advanced moves are. That's enticing, I would say, if he's really excited about the new advanced moves, because advanced moves are pretty cool. They basically give you a crit, more or less.
Okay.
They give you like they make it so that if you roll a 12 plus, you get like new options. Somebody asked about the sword and sorcery playbooks, and basically the design brief is sword and sorcery playbooks that slot into the rules as is. I've hit the brief close to, but not quite 100%. They bring along with them a few new tags, new standard moves, things like this, things like that. You can mix them in with the core playbooks without any friction if you're thoughtful about it. I'm really excited about them. So I like everything he's saying on those bad boys. Because, yeah, the idea that you can mix or match them or make them their own thing means there should be some good meat on those bones. We talked about the hard versus aggro thing. Somebody asked about if the MC prep rules are going to be drastically different for 3rd edition, and basically, like, no. Some added stuff for the new rules, but the base idea is still there. Oh yeah, another person asked about. They said that I've always seen Apocalypse World as a game about community and how different people wield power and influence. Are there any new mechanics for the GM and players to engage with on that level? Yes, there's stuff scattered all over the place, but this is the whole basis for the new barter system. In this edition, you don't spend cash. You don't spend barter as cash, you roll it. And it explicitly includes power and influence, not just wealth, which, yeah. So basically he's saying there is stuff scattered throughout to reinforce that community, like, struggle vibe. That one we already did. You do announce your moves. The misconception thing. Oh yeah, this was, I thought, was an interesting comment. I don't know what to make of this, but he said, where is it? Any advice to someone jumping into 3rd edition as their first foray into Apocalypse World? When it's done, 3rd edition to be the easiest Apocalypse World yet to jump into. You know how everybody says to play PBTA games, you have to forget D&D and play the game on its own terms? My advice for Apocalypse World 3rd edition would be play it on its own terms. You might also have to set aside what you know about PBTA.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know what that means. But I was like, okay. I'll keep an open mind, I guess. Sure.
Yeah, I mean...
Right? Like, I don't really know what it means by that. Stuff. He means stuff and things. Like, it could mean a lot. There's a lot of potential things that could mean.
Yeah, I mean, there's the really, like... What is it? The John Romero's about to make you his bitch. Like, it's kind of got that vibe to it. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Hopefully it doesn't end up like whatever the fuck that game was called. I can't remember what it's called. Ultra Kill or something.
Yeah,
are
you talking about Daikatana?
Yeah, Daikatana, yeah. Hopefully that's not what that means.
No, hopefully not. Another comment that he made to somebody else that also is like, what do you mean by that, sir? He said, the person says, what do you like most about PBTA, about what PBTA became as an RPG genre? And the last little bit, he gave a longer answer, but the last little bit of the answer was, this means that the thing that all PBTA games have in common is they all contradict Apocalypse World in some important way. I was kind of like, what? I guess I should. Actually, it's not that long. He said, I like most the diversity. I like to say this. Games don't have parents and children. They aren't biological. When one game influences another, it doesn't replicate itself like genetics. It inspires and provokes. A new game isn't descended from the games that came before. It answers back to them. This means that the thing all PBTA games have in common is they all contradict Apocalypse World in some important ways. Again, I don't know. What the fuck you mean by that, Kelby Bryant? I don't really know.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, I don't really know. So, he had a couple... those are a couple I pointed out, but, yeah. That, he had a couple of responses where I was like, I don't know what to do with that. But it's interesting. And then the last little one I marked was that he's really excited about the Warriors Ablaze playbooks because they're challenging to make and they're fun, which makes sense. And of the core playbooks, his favorites are the Standout and the Harrier, at least at this moment. In the hack book, the Harrier was much worse and didn't hold together very well. The new Harrier keeps what was good about the hack book version and brings in what was good about the Chopper and builds on both. So he is pleased with his work on the Harrier. So yeah, that was the last one I had mentioned. I'll be honest, actually, as like a closing thought. My very, very first response to when I saw this Kickstarter was, I don't know if I actually want this. That was my very initial response. Because
you didn't know that you wanted a third edition.
Yeah, well, two things. One, I didn't fully understand that it was a third edition. I was slightly confused because he called it Burned Over, and I was like, wait a minute. But Burned Over already exists. So that was my first confusion. And then after that, I was kind of like, I don't know if I want, because I had played the Burned Over hack book. I was like, I don't know if I want a full version of that game that I played there. Like, I don't know if I like a lot of the changes that it was making. But reading his responses to the AMA and reading what's in the preview stuff, he has won me over, and I'm like, okay, I'm excited now. So it worked out.
Yeah, fair enough.
I had like a questionable initial response and then was like, all right, fair enough. You know?
You know what's funny? I had an interesting kind of opposite reaction to Tom Bloom, because he put something out a little while ago for like what his next game is going to be, and I think he basically was like, there's no way for me to remove dice rolls at all, like completely from a tabletop game, but I'm going to see how far I can get. And like, I don't want that though. Why would you? There
is actually a PBTA game that has no dice rolls at all. It's called Undying. And you play a coterie of vampires.
Yeah, I don't know if I like math rocks too much. I don't want to.
That was kind of my response. I remember looking into Undying one time, and I know a lot of people said it was really interesting. I don't remember. If I remember correctly, the way it works is you kind of like, you barter with like a currency that you all have, I think was the mechanic, but I don't totally remember, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I don't know. The removing dice thing I find a little like, I don't know. Why do you want to remove dice? I guess would be my question. Other than, do you just want to do it as like a flex to just see if you could do it? Maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. It's also weird because he made a war game, Magna Gothica Malagast, which is, can't get much more dice heavy than a war game.
Well, maybe that's why. Maybe he went so dice heavy. He went so heavy in one direction. Now he wants to see if he can go the complete opposite.
Fucking maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I mean, I'm okay with the idea of removing dice if you replace it with some kind of different random generation of some kind. You know? Because, like, for me, it's not the dice themselves. It's just the idea of the random number generation creating unexpected events. So, like, if the game is based on a deck of cards, for example, or fucking throwing jacks on the table or some shit, fine. It doesn't have to be dice necessarily in my book.
Yeah, I mean, if there's something to generate the random numbers, then it should be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Dread doesn't use dice, but I want to play that as well.
Right.
Because there is, you know.
Dread is a Jenga tower, which is a weird way to do it, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So yes, I am. I don't know. I'm excited. I don't know. I mean, of course I'm excited. I don't know how you're feeling. I don't know if looking.
I don't really have a dog in this race, but I'm interested.
What do you mean you don't have a dog in this race?
Well, would I run Apocalypse World? Maybe. What I'm more interested in is to see how this recontextualizes PBTA for the next generation of games.
Restarts PBTA again? Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Because if it's as divisive and changing as he is describing it, then some crazy shit bound to happen.
Probably. Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah. Seeing what I'm not necessarily it's not the product itself, but it is the knock-on effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. All right. All right, that has been us. I have nothing else to add. That has been us. Go buy Apocalypse World. That's what I'll say. Go buy Apocalypse World. Game good.
Game good.
Game good.